Howdy folks, I'm Brian,
I'm Amber.
and here's some Reddit. Our first story of... Our first story tonight is titled, Will Brian Make It, or Will He Drown in His Own Lungs? Our first story is titled, Am I a Jerk for Planting a Scary Note for a Child to Find? I live across the road from a primary school. Lately, a child has been walking past my house at the end of each school day and looking through my mailbox and sometimes taking my mail. There is a video of this coming from my security camera. I'd say that they are around 8 years old, and they are accompanied by an adult who is not doing anything to stop this behavior. And my neighbors have also had an issue with mail going missing. I'm fed up, so I took screenshots of one of the videos that showed the child taking things from my letterbox, and I printed them off. I sealed them in an envelope with a note saying that the police are following them, and that they are going to take them to jail if they keep stealing mail. Sealed it up with a stamp, left it in my mailbox, and right as school time ended, I watched from my phone at work as the child went into my mailbox and removed the letter. Not even 10 minutes later, my Ring camera is going crazy, and the mother of the child is banging down my door. I answer remotely, and basically tell her that if she can't control her kid, then she can't get mad when other people take things into their own hands. She was very unhappy. And the kid was howling in the background, distressed that they were going to go to jail. The mother demanded that I tell her kid that the police weren't coming for them, but I told her that maybe it was time for her to step up as a parent and explain why this is happening. I finished off with a warning that if she dares to try anything, I have clear image of her face and security cameras everywhere. My colleague overheard me speaking to her over the Ring camera, and after I hung up, he asked what happened. I told him everything, and he was quite disapproving, and says that kids are hard to control, so of course they do stuff like this. But this has been a constant thing spanning over the last few months. But at the same time, I'm not a parent, and I have no idea how hard it is to keep track of a kid. Editing, because it's easier than replying to all the comments that are asking about whether or not the police know. The police do know, and the school does as well. Neither have done anything to stop this. Another edit, answering more questions. Why didn't you confront the mother? I don't work from home. Every time this has happened, I've been in my office, and I'm not about to take an afternoon off from my job to sit on my porch and yell at kids to get off my lawn. Call the police. Neighbors have filed police reports and nothing has been done. However, I have now submitted a report online to the AFP. Tell the school. They want nothing to do with it, and they told me once kids are released to parents at the end of the day, it's not their problem anymore. Blah blah blah, why all the security cameras? A couple of comments in here, and more comments about it in another thread about this post. I'm an Aboriginal woman who lives alone in a predominantly white suburb with a lot of racist people around and have been harassed before. There is a lot of crime in my area. You're hilarious. I know. Alright, OP. My verdict here is that you're not the jerk, and that this kid hopefully gets a rude awakening. If the police aren't doing anything about it, and the parents aren't doing anything about it, and the school isn't doing anything about it, and you keep getting your mail stolen, go right ahead. Scare the wits out of this kid. That's my opinion. You know, giving them photo evidence that they know that you've been having your mail stolen by them is probably enough to keep them deterred from doing this again. So yeah, the thing I don't understand is, who is this adult that's with them? And why are they not stopping their kid from stealing people's mail? Like, this is a federal offense. Why is the post office, why is the police department not doing anything about this? You might be able to report this to the police, to the post office, and they might be able to do something about it. I don't know. But this is really strange that a full-grown adult who's accompanying this child sees this as perfectly acceptable behavior. Like, they honestly are probably going to get into pretty big trouble if, they know that their kid is stealing mail. I mean, while the kid's a minor, they are not. And this isn't legal advice. This is just speculation. So, yeah. Anyhow, take care and good luck. It's rude to scare the children. Don't scare the children. You know who's been scaring children? Adults have been scaring children from time immemorial with books like Grimm's Book of Fairy Tales. Isn't that what all fairy tales were? Hey, if you keep acting up, little kid, then you're going to be taken away by a goat monster that's going to eat you. That's an acceptable form of scaring children at one point in time. This is mild in comparison. I'm not saying lie to kids and tell them that a scary goat monster is going to eat them, by the way. I think that this was the appropriate level of scaring the kid. What do you think, Amber?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's fine, because, again, what are you going to do when the police won't take you seriously, the school won't take you seriously, and literally no one's doing anything?
Not the jerk. I laughed a little bit. Stealing mail is no joke, especially nowadays where people get medicine in the mail. Better to learn now before the police actually get involved. You mean the FBI. It's a felony. I really think the mom is enabling this behavior because she hopes one day the child will innocently happen upon something valuable for her to pawn or use. OP, take it up a notch and get other neighbors involved. Y'all should have more constructive mails for him to find. That mother should just wait. One day she's going to be calling the police herself on the child after he innocently finds and keeps all of her jewelry and money. Not the jerk. Not the jerk, kids are certainly not that hard to control. Stealing mail is a crime, and I'm shocked the parent let it go for this long. And OP replies, I have a theory that the parent encourages it. Well, that's not good. That's not good at all. Our next letter is titled, Am I a jerk for making my daughter's cheer team lose? So, my daughter is a 10-year-old female and is a very gifted cheerleader. She can do skills meant for much older girls. She's a flyer at our local cheer/gymnastics gym. She also has a very severe medical condition. I told her coach that if she gets sick or faints during practice, that she needs to call me. Her coach has the mindset that kids getting sick or passing out just means they've worked hard and it isn't a big deal. I disagree, but I thought she understood that this isn't the same for my daughter. Also, they have a big meet coming up and my daughter is the main flyer in all the stunts and does a lot of things that none of the other kids can do. Well, last week she worked really hard at practice and threw up. Rather than calling me, her coach just told her to get some water and come back. She told me what happened when I picked her up, and I was mad. I immediately took her to the local children's hospital, and luckily, she was fine. I called her coach, who basically told me that she has a lot of kids and can't cater to all of the individual needs, and that my daughter didn't seem sick, so it wasn't that big of a deal. I was really upset that she didn't care at all. I might have forgiven her if it was just a mistake and she forgot, but this could have put my daughter in real danger, and the coach didn't show any sign of remorse for her actions or willingness to call me next time. So I spoke with my daughter and we decided to try and see if there were any other cheer teams in the area. She isn't close with a lot of the girls there, as most of them are older than her, and she doesn't mind moving gyms. There was a team looking for a flyer, so she tried out and made it. I called the coach and said that she quit the team. Her coach flipped and said that they needed her at the meet. I basically said she should have thought about that before she decided not to call me. She told me about how she would have to change her routines because the other girls couldn't do as much as my daughter. She says basically it's an automatic lose because they barely have any time to prepare. I again said, I don't care. I told the situation to my sister, and she thinks I'm partly the jerk for pulling her out a week and a half before the competition. She thinks that we should have just waited until the competition was over before leaving. But the week before the competition, they have practice every day for 6 hours, and I didn't feel that after what happened, I could trust the coach with my daughter, and I'm not able to stay in the lobby the entire time. I feel bad for the other girls because they won't be as good with not much time to prepare before the competition, but I don't necessarily regret my decision. Am I the jerk? Should I have just waited to pull her out, or given the coach the benefit of the doubt? Edit to clear things up. 1. She does not cheer 6 hours a day every day usually, just the week leading up to the competitions, and her school ended 2 weeks ago, so she isn't missing any school. 2. I didn't take her into the ER. I called the doctor at the hospital and asked if we could come in and get her checked out to make sure she was okay. 3. I don't like to say the name of her condition, but I'll just say it that it's a severe form of a heterotaxy which mainly affects her heart and kidneys. It's not just a common childhood disease like asthma or T1D. It doesn't affect her mobility as long as she's careful and monitored by doctors. She's fine to cheer. 4. My husband and I both work, so we really can't stay there during all of her practices. My husband usually drops her off, and I usually pick her up on my way home from work. Her gym is very close to my husband's office, so if anything happens, he would be very close by. 5. Her new team isn't going to the same competition, so she has more time to prepare. All right, OP. So, the thing is this. You could have waited until after the competition, but if you had, then you would have been putting your daughter at an unnecessarily elevated risk. The coach knew ahead of time your conditions for her being in this cheer team, and they chose to blatantly ignore that. So in that respect, I'm going to have to say that you're not the jerk. You know, if you had given the coach no warning and hadn't told them about her medical condition and hadn't stressed to them the importance about notifying you if anything like this happens, then it would be a jerk move to pull her out at last minute. But in this particular case, it sounds like you did the responsible thing. You told the coach ahead of time, and they just refused to work with you. You can't trust this coach anymore, and I honestly feel for you in this situation. I feel bad for the girls. Like, yeah, they're going to go into this competition. They're probably not going to do as well as they did before. And maybe they're also going to resent your daughter a little bit because they, aren't going to have her around. And yeah, they're being unfairly punished here for the coach. But it was the coach's responsibility. All of this falls on the coach's shoulders. So you aren't the one to blame here. Those other girls aren't the ones to blame here. It's solely on the coach here who's to blame. If they didn't want to lose a team member, then they should have listened to the parent who told them that their daughter has a special medical condition that they need to be carefully evaluated and monitored. So, yeah, you're not the jerk. Coach is. Take care and good luck. Not the jerk. The coach is overworking those kids, full stop. And it isn't healthy. If the kid is throwing up because of how hard they're being worked, that's a serious health threat, and not something your kid should be dealing with. Also, the coach is saying things like, she didn't seem sick, which is moronic because she actually threw up. You don't make the team lose. You got your kid out of a potentially hazardous and toxic team environment as soon as you became aware of it. And OP replied, she meant that she felt her forehead and didn't have a fever. For my daughter, it likely wouldn't matter if she had a fever or not. She could have kidney failure. And how could the coach feel her forehead to know whether or not she had a fever if she'd been working out? That doesn't even make any sense. Like, if you're working out, your forehead's going to be hotter than normal anyways, so I don't really buy that. Not the jerk, but maybe consider getting your daughter a phone for emergencies so she'll be able to advocate for herself should something like this ever happen again. It doesn't have to be a nice one, just one that she can call you on. And OP replies, she has an iPad which she can text and call on. There was a locker room and water fountain in the main gym. She said the coach said it was fine, so she didn't think it was a big deal. And that's the trouble, is like little kids aren't going to know who's a proper authority in a situation like this. So a 10-year-old girl, she's going to think that the coach is well informed and a good authority here. And she has to, she's going to be under the impression that the coach is going to advocate for her health. And the coach just does not understand this situation. So they're not a good advocate here. All right. Our next letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for Not Offering My Roommate's Son Food? My fiance is a 30-year-old male, and I'm a 30-year-old female, and we rent a room. At least once a week, we grill on the back patio. That is for our use with our grill that his dad gave us. Most of the time, when we go to grill, our roommate's son, a 24-year-old male we'll call Jay, basically invites himself to eat with us. This has been aggravating for me for a while, and I have made it clear to my fiance. This past weekend, my kids, a 13-year-old male and a 9-year-old female, were here for the weekend. They spend split time between Dad and I. We were grilling ribs on the back patio, and Jay comes out right around the time the food was done. I grabbed just enough plates and forks for the 4 of us, the fiance, me, and the kids, and plated our food and sat down to eat. The whole time, Jay stood there staring at the 4 of us. We actively ignored him and ate our family dinner. When we were done, we cleaned up our leftovers and put them away, as well as threw away all the trash. His mother texted me that night saying that we were jerks for not offering her adult son food. I told her that he's capable of cooking for himself, or she could cook for him, and that's not our responsibility. Are we the jerks, or are they for expecting us just to allow him to constantly invite himself to our dinners that we pay for and cook? Quick edit for additional info. We have talked to Jay about this behavior before. We told him that unless we invite him, our dinners are specifically for us, fiance and I, and whoever we invited over, our kids and our friends. He has completely ignored this. That's why we went the ignoring routine. All right, OP. I think that last edit here provides a little context. Basically, you've told Jay to buzz off. You do not need to keep feeding an adult man who keeps coming around to eat your food. This is food that you've paid for. This is food that you bought to enjoy for yourself. And it sounds like Jay has gotten plenty of free meals out of you. And I mean, it's nice every once in a while to share a barbecue dinner with the neighbors, but it needs to be under, your kind of jurisdiction. You need to invite him over and allow, you need to be able to exercise that authority and not just have him, eat your food. And maybe if Jay had like an intellectual disability and can't understand like why this is a bothersome thing, and that would be on his mom to kind of help and guide him to understand why he can't just come to the neighbors and eat their food. And certainly, I think that if that had been the case, you probably would have mentioned that here. So I don't think that you're the jerk in this situation. I think that Jay seems like he probably is perfectly capable of cooking his own food. He just chooses not to, and he invites himself along to eat your food. And I think that's completely inappropriate. And you, of course, want to have a nice family meal without having someone just intruding on it. So, yeah, can't blame you there. So, not the jerk. All right, folks, that's all the time we have for today. I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, consider giving it a like. If you didn't, consider giving it a dislike. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you all tomorrow.